Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I had to look and see where we. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Saturday. It's Chat with Mac. We're glad to have you. For those of you that have been watching us, we're glad to have you. For those that are new to what we're doing, welcome, 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 sir. How are you today, Nadeem?
Oh, I'm doing great. And by the way, it is still morning. It's not noon yet.
Yeah, I just noticed it's 11:30.
uh, but yeah, so we kind of got a little tied up yesterday, so we thought we'll do the chat with Mac today, Saturday, instead of Friday. But yeah, here we are. So what are we going to talk about, Mac?
So I remember you. I think it was earlier this year, we were talking about augmented reality and how, actually, if I remember correctly, you were talking about a program that they're using in engineering where, it's augmented reality and they're able to actually have specs in 3D or something along that line. So we want to talk about that. Actually, Facebook is launching smart glasses. Now, I remember Google had smart glasses or smart glass at one point. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people have already heard about the Google glasses. That contraption that you could. I mean, we saw people, wearing out in the street. It
Hmm.
was kind of bulky, and it was a weird looking thing. So yeah, we've had that. There has been a lot of R&D going on. So basically, we're trying to get to a point where, like, a regular shirt would be smart.
Hmm.
We're not there yet. The technology hasn't caught up yet, but that's where eventually we're going to get to, is where we put on these clothes. They can detect, for example, what our temperature is. Are we sweating? Are we not sweating? And change their characteristics based on that. But that's way into the future. For right now, we're just trying to figure out how to make these glasses work. I mean, so back in the day, Google did that. I know Apple's doing quite a bit of R&D, and a lot of other companies have their skunk works going. I know Facebook's been working. I think they actually released that. What was it? Oculus. They actually bought Oculus, and they
Oculus,
integrate
yep.
with that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't know of anybody who has very successfully commercialized this technology other than Microsoft. And when I
Oh, wow.
say other than Microsoft, that is because of Microsoft's HoloLens. And not a lot of people know about Microsoft HoloLens unless they are in a niche industry where Microsoft has developed applications for the HoloLens. So the HoloLens is basically you know a device you put in front of your eyes, and it's being used by military, it's being used by engineering, it's being used by a lot of different specific niche industries. But what it allows you to do is it immerses you in an augmented reality scenario. So for engineering, it's good because if you are developing or doing research and developing a new piece of equipment, you can actually look at it in front of you and move it around using your hands and gestures and all that.
Hmm.
Remember back in the day, Microsoft Connect came out, and you know some people, well, I actually thought about, it would be great if instead of remote controls we can just have like gestures, and we could just do that to change channels
Yep.
on a TV, and because it was really that good. So part of that technology is now in HoloLens. So you can actually do that and rotate a model in front of you. So you can actually see how it's going to look, and instead of having to, kind of use the mouse and kind of do, that's not natural. What's natural is using our hands and just moving things around. So it's almost like
Yeah.
you're moving an actual thing around, but in it's all virtual. So Microsoft is already there, and they're doing a lot of research. And this is what's we're just at the precipice of we're gonna fall into the deep end of it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Apple came out with this watch. Before the watch came out, yeah, there were fitness bands and stuff people were using, but nothing like the Apple Watch. And then the AirPods. And I remember back in the day, I got this. I forget the name of the brand, but it was a in-ear earplug, and it actually detected things like your blood pressure and stuff. It wasn't very good. I mean, it was more gimmicky, but it actually detected like your blood pressure and stuff. So I tested it out when working out. I would put it in my ear and I would see how, and it was kind of flaky, you know. But with the Apple Watch, and that's, I think that's what, when it comes into the mainstream, it has to be leaps and bounds better. It can't be
Yeah.
flaky. For example, detecting that blood pressure, it has to work majority of the time. It can't be like, it only works half the time. That's not going to work. Same thing with all these, augmented reality technologies. They have to always work, and the experience has to be good. Here's how well the experience has to be good, and how difficult it is. If there is something virtual in front of you, when you move something, like if it was physically there, you move it, you feel the haptic feedback from that physical thing. You don't have that haptic feedback. So it has to feel natural. And there's a lot of companies that are already building haptic feedbacks into, like, for example, game controllers and stuff like that. So
Yep.
where
Hmm.
if you're flying, if you're doing a flight simulation and your plane hits something, you got to feel that in your controls, right? So they're actually doing all of that. Oh, that's Kathy. Never mind. Ignore that. So you see all that haptic feedback coming in these devices, and I know a lot of friends I know who do they're pilots and they do these flight simulations, and they spend a lot of money in building their environments to where they can replicate the cockpit of an airplane, and it can actually give you that feel. The thing with glasses is, okay, HoloLens can work in a lab environment, in an office, in an engineering place where you're doing some research. It's a big device that goes over your head. It cannot work out in the open. I mean, nobody's going to want to wear that and walk out on the street. I mean, they might get shot. Who knows?
That's
But
true.
so we need to get to a point where we can have regular glasses, or even better would be contact lenses that are smart. So they, I mean, that would be ultimate, right? If you can put a contact lens in your eye, communicate with it with your brain, and if you see something, it will automatically put in your eye, who this person is, what their name is, what their qualification is, things like that.
So you want to hear something real funny? What you're describing, wow, that's actually awesome, because there are two things I remember. I think it was Mission Impossible, where Tom Cruise was working for the IMF, this fictional spy agency, and they actually had a contact lens that he put in that gave him all the information. Actually, when he put the contact lens in, he was in a train station, and when he looked at people, it gave them name, and they were able to match the face with who they were looking for. It was an amazing part of the actual movie itself, that type of technology that you're talking about.
And a lot of these technologies, we see them in the movies. They come. Everything starts with an idea, right?
Yep.
Anything in life, it starts with an idea. And a lot of these ideas in this world start in movies. Think about that back in the day, the Star Trek and the Star Wars, a lot of the technologies that at that time were just, we're never going to get there. Now we have it on our wrists. I mean,
Yep.
I can make calls on my watch. It's my communicator, right? Yeah, it's not as funky as something like a little badge on my shirt or anything, but it's on my arm. It's always there. And it's doing more than just communication.
That's
I mean,
true.
like if I fall, it'll dial 911 for me. And that, and that was one of the things that, so I'm not used to wearing stuff on my body. I never was used to it until I saw the benefits of having this watch. And my brother-in-law told me about what all it does, because I wasn't really interested in wearing anything. I just, I just can't. So then when we talked about this, and he was like, oh no, one day it can save your life. And so then I was like, okay, it's just a friggin' watch, buy it, see if you can get used to it. So I started wearing it, and then it became a natural extension. It became a natural extension to where now all so I'm a numbers guy, right? So I collect all these numbers about everything, and when I'm working out, my watch is on there. When I'm sleeping, my watch is on me. So people are probably thinking, well, how do you get it charged? I charge it twice a day. Once in the morning when I wake up, I put it on the charger. So I do my normal, morning routine, shave, shower and stuff, and it's fully charged by then. And then at night, I put it on the charger and I, shower and stuff. And by the time I get ready to go to bed, it's fully charged. I put it back on my wrist and away we go. So it's tracking my sleep. It's tracking my, heart rhythm, blood pressure, pulse, whatever have you. It's tracking a lot of stuff. But the thing is, it really showed me that it can save my life. So I was up on top of, I think I was up on top of an RV, and this is like a 13.6 foot high, so it was pretty high. And I did something, and I think I was cleaning the roof of the RV, and something hit, like it was shock. Like I think the brush I was using, it fell out of my hand or something, and my hand hit the roof of the RV. And my watch gave me that haptic feedback and prompted me if I wanted to dial 911 if I ever had a fall. It said, I detected a fall. Are you okay? So I was okay. So I pushed the button that no, I'm okay. And it never did that again. That's intelligence. That's learned from that was a false positive. So I'm going to change. I'm going to adjust myself. So next time it happens, I won't do that again. And it never did that again. Because it adjusted. Because every body is different. What people do every time they do different things. So it now knows that level of shock is really not a fall for me. But then if I exceed that, it's probably going to prompt me again. Hey, have you had a fall? If I don't respond, it's going to think I have had a fall. Maybe I passed out and dial 911. So technology has to be seamless. It has to fit in with the human requirements as opposed to the human adjusting to the technology requirements. The technology for glasses, I don't think it's 100% there, because even now they have to be kind of bulky. And yeah, we can get rid of the earpieces. We can use the bone induction to pick up sounds and stuff. But it's not 100%. We can't rely on it. Would you rely on it if your life depended on it? I wouldn't. It's not there yet. So that test fails right there. If I can rely on it with my life, then yeah, it passes. We can start moving into production. But yeah, that's where we are. I think there's a lot of people that are working now. HoloLens is not as well known. It's not advertised as much, like the Facebook making these glasses. Everybody knows about it because Facebook kind of does some PR around it. Microsoft has not done a lot of PR to the public because the HoloLens is actually targeted towards businesses. Now, niche businesses, they know very well what it is. I know the U.S. Army, is testing HoloLens and augmented reality. So, and that makes sense, right? If a soldier's in the field and they want to know, there's a tank coming down the road, you want to know, hey, is that friendly or enemy? Right. So it can tell you that, same thing. It could be, fighter pilots that they probably want to know what it is. Is it a bogey or so that's, so we don't hear a lot about the HoloLens, but a lot of the technologies like from Microsoft Connect and stuff, they're built to enable HoloLens. HoloLens will not be possible if we did not have Connect back in the day. I think Microsoft bought it for, I forget how much, that Connect technology. I think it was an Israeli company that developed it originally, and then Microsoft bought it, and they bought it so they can bring these kind of technologies to life. And
they were using it for Xbox.
Xbox, that's where it started.
Yeah, it was actually. It was very, because I'm an Xbox fan. For those of you that are PlayStation, I love Xbox. But I think it was very well put together. It was, it mimicked movements, it did all of that, and I thought it was pretty good. I actually, something else that you talked about, that now I am a nerd to my core, and I watch anime, and there's this anime called Ghost in the Shell. And the premise of it is, in the year 2045, whatever, cybernetics and all that. But one thing that they had, which I personally think is not too far fetched, is that they had connects into different areas of the brain. So if I were to, I could by thought see Nadeem in my left eye and actually communicate with him without me opening my mouth, and Nadeem would be able to hear my conversation. And I was so fascinated by that. And I used to think, well, I wonder how
Artificial telepathy, huh?
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm thinking, I wonder how far down the line are we to that, where you have these brain augmentations where they have these connects in different synapses of the brain where you're able to do all of this stuff. It's amazing.
We are fast getting there. So they have already developed prosthetics that will move when you want to move that body part. Yeah. So we are getting there fast, and that's why I say we are at the precipice of falling into the deep end. I mean, yeah, a lot of this technology costs a lot of money right now, but that's the thing about technology. That's the beauty of technology is, once it comes out, it's like a specialty item, but then all of a sudden the prices just drop down and all of a sudden everybody can have it, and that's where we're where these augmented reality glasses are going to go but there has to be a need for it, right? HoloLens, there's a need in certain industries, and Microsoft's making good money selling those HoloLens to those industries. Don't get me wrong, but the value is much higher than what it costs, and that's why companies are buying it. For glasses, they have to come down to a price point where a regular consumer can afford it, especially if it's coming from Facebook, because Facebook is not like, they're not focused on business. They're focused more on the consumer side, because the only time they're focused on business is for their advertising revenue, right? So how is augmented reality going to play into that? Well, they have to, maybe they can do something where they are showing ads in the glasses and charging businesses to maybe compensate for the price level of developing that technology, so they can give it at a discounted rate to consumers, because the more consumers have glasses, the more businesses can get their ad revenue from it. So maybe it'll work like that. But the thing is, we are just at the cusp of things changing dramatically with things like that. If you were involved with somebody who had this prosthetic that was controlled by the brain, you would be one of those people that would be amazed at how can technology do this. We don't even think about it in day in and day out. But I mean, just 10 years ago, it was just a pipe dream. It was like, it was in movies and stuff. Now it's becoming a reality, and that's what happened. That idea comes first, and then somebody makes it happen. Yep. And most of these ideas are already in the movies and stuff, especially, like the future fiction type movies, but then ultimately they come into reality. And it's like a frog being boiled. These technologies, they seep into reality like so seamlessly and smoothly that we don't even realize until it's a natural extension of ours. Like this watch. Yeah, I still feel it on my wrist every day, but will I take it off? No, because I can leave my phone somewhere. So before, I was hooked on my phone. I couldn't leave anywhere without my phone. It was always in my pocket, and it gave me time, and that did a lot of other things, and I had to have it with me all the time. But now I can leave my phone wherever I want to, because my watch is always on my wrist, and it has all my connectivity. Everything that I have on my phone, I can do from my watch, except remote into a server to do something. But
who knows? I might be coming at some point.
Technology is just changing. Well, that should be coming if we can get those glasses, those augmented reality glasses going, and bring them down to a good price point. Then I can use those glasses to remote into a server. I don't need a big. I mean, that would be a biggest screen I can ever have, right? I mean, I can fill my whole field of vision with that server, we are fast getting into the future that was just fiction, I mean, things are just changing so fast, so much.
Yeah.
Even right now, when there is a chip shortage and we're having a tough time getting some of the equipment shipped out and things like that, stuff is all being back ordered. But even now, there's so much R&D going on. There's so many new things in the pipeline coming down the line that, yeah, I mean, if somebody from now, and this is true for any era, if somebody from now just is taken out of today and put into a world 10 years from now, they would lose their minds. It would be like magic. There's so much stuff happening that will be like magic. We don't realize it because we slowly progressed into that, like that boiling frog that never realized it was boiling. But if we were taken out of today and put in 10 years from today, there would be things that would just boggle our mind. How is this even happening? I mean, that's where we are when it comes to technology.
Love it. I love it.
So Mac, let me ask you, since you're an expert. So, back in the day, I got a little bit into gaming, and I developed this, gaming PC, and it had like 3 screens and stuff, and it was great. But how is your skill when it comes to gaming? What kind of games do you like to play on?
Man, I love real-time strategy games where the old Ages of Empire, where you have to build. You start from one age and you have to build your army and go attack other people. Love those games. Love them. I'm a big sports fan, too. Also, I love the Maddens and NBA basketball. I'm a sci-fi freak, so anything that has to do with Star Wars, forget it. I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna play it. I just love. So I have different genres, if you will. First, FTS, first-person shooters, whatever. I'm just a game. I don't game as much as I used to anymore because I'm busy. And my daughter, funny enough, was like, "Dad, you don't game as much. You used to love gaming." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I think I'm gonna pick that back up because it's a stress reliever." And believe it or not, my dad is from Nigeria, so he thought that it was a waste of time, but it's good for the brain.
Yeah.
So I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it definitely is, and I know a lot of times, I've talked to people where they think, oh, my kid is always into gaming and stuff, but it's building certain things that they can use in real life, whether it's reflexes or strategy thinking, thought process. And when you're thinking about certain things, your brain is developing connections in a certain way. So that's not only specific to that game, that's going to help you down the line. Now, here's the thing, though. I remember this was years ago. Me and my wife, we got hooked on Sim City. Oh man, what a time waster! What a time waster! I mean, you can spend all night on there, look at the watch, and see, oh shoot, it's morning already, and I mean, because you're building all these civilizations and stuff.
My sister was absolutely hooked on Sim City. I mean, hooked. I mean, building whole cities and infrastructure. I get it.
So my thing is, if something is so exciting and it's a game that that I get to that level, then I need to stop now because I don't want to get hooked into it. But so far, I haven't come across something that was that exciting. But then I wouldn't install SimCity on any of my machines either because I mean, there's always so much to do, and if you start, I mean, you don't realize, it's like, one time I started tracking how much time I spend on social media, and not social media for some business benefit, but social media as a time waster. And I realized real quick that it is surprising how much time people end up spending on just BS, backstepping, gossiping, just useless stuff that doesn't get just, I don't see a value. Maybe there is some value that I'm not seeing, but I don't see a value to that. Now, if you're working with Facebook, you're developing your, ads and managing your ads and things like that, which ultimately translates to business revenue or certain business goals, okay, that makes sense. But just getting on social media just for, interacting with other people, it's a time waster. And there's a lot of, like a lot of business coaches will say this, and it'll be like, a lot of times people say, oh, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that. If you start taking inventory of time, you will be amazed at where you are wasting time.
That's a
And
good
people don't
point.
even, I think people know, a lot of people know how much of a time, they just don't want to admit it. I
That's
think
true.
that's where it's at. They just don't want to admit it. So sometimes when I need to scratch that itch that I want to get on social media, and I'll say it, I'll take my phone, and when I'm sitting on the toilet, I'll just play. I was like, okay, I can't do anything else, so I can now get caught up on what my friends are doing on social media, and I have some biker buddies and stuff, so we can kind of catch up on that. And I'm like, and that's not every time. I mean, it's like once in a while, if I feel the itch to talk on social media, I'll do that. But other than that, I try to keep track of. I try to do inventory of time and see where my time is being spent.
Makes sense.
Um, and to that end, I actually keep track of like formally keep track of my time between which business I'm doing what for, so I can kind of keep track of how much time I'm spending on which business and what my return on that time is. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of gauging my return on investment on time,
Yeah.
because everything else in life you can always get by or come across, except time. You can't get time.
Can't get
Time
time
never
back.
comes. It's just gone. So the most important thing to me is the time. So and that's something that a lot of people don't keep track of, and that's amazing. But yeah, I mean, we're getting sidetracked. But so yeah, Sim City. That's, if you want a time waster, that was a time waster for me. But yeah, it'll be. But I never really did get into gaming as I thought. I mean, I see the draw. It's almost like, instead of watching the movie, you're in the movie, right?
That's
It's
true.
it's like that, right? It's like people watching some movie is like, well, why do you want to watch the movie when you can be in it? But it just wasn't for me, because it requires a lot more senses. Watching a movie, you can be doing something else while the movie's playing. You're just watching it in and out, no big deal. But if you're in the game, you're immersed in it. You cannot do anything else. You gotta, you're focused on that. So I just couldn't get that going, because I know people, like the person who introduced me to gaming and all of that. He tried to push me into the deep end on that. He could spend all night playing. I mean, he'd be like, a lot of times, he'd be like, all night he was up because he was busy playing. And it's like, wow, oh, that's tough. And I know people have these gaming get-togethers where they'll go 3 days straight just gaming. Is like,
Oh, I've been to those. Those are something else. Those are something else.
But no, a lot of the stuff that's coming out of these gamings, we, I don't know how else to put it. We as consumers are the losers.
Mm.
The businesses behind it are the ones who are commercializing it, making money off of it, right? That's the business value to it. Like Microsoft, coming up with Connect. They spent a lot of money on Connect technology, but now with HoloLens, think about it this way. Back then it was just a gaming deal. Now the military's using it. Engineering firms are using it.
Yep.
I hate to name any names, but large commercial earth-moving equipment manufacturers are using it. One of the big ones in the world is. But anyway, so the thing is that at the end of the day, who's the winner? The business who commercialized it, and they had the foresight to see that, hey, this technology 10 years from now is going to change how we do business. So they bought that Connect, and now look where it's at.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good back then. I mean, I remember we got some prototypes, and we tested it with with a smart TV on changing channels, and it was very accurate. I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, it would detect, like, you could do that, and it would change channels. I mean, it was
Damn.
yeah, it was very accurate. It wasn't like, if you're not focused, if you're looking at somebody else and you're talking, it wouldn't change channels just by talking. If you're focused somewhere else, so it can actually detect focus and that you're talking to the TV to change the channels. It was pretty good. And so yeah, we are at the precipice of technology changing so
Yeah.
much. But I've rambled on long enough.
I
Now
love it.
you're a gamer. So what are you gonna get into next? What are you gonna start playing?
Man, there is a game called Metal Gear that they're coming out with a new one. I'm waiting on it. Honestly, I don't even have a game. I'm an Xbox fan, but I didn't buy any since just because I was, so busy, with life. But now that Metal Gear is coming back out, and it's an amazingly written story. Now I'm like, okay, let me look into, getting this PlayStation. So yeah, it's Metal Gear. It's great. It actually uses elements of augmented reality in there. I mean, it's closer to I don't know if you remember the movie Minority Report, where another Tom Cruise movie, go figure, but it described a lot of what you were saying, where they were moving stuff on screens just by simple hand gestures. So there's a segment on there that's similar to that. So the nerd in me is very excited about that.
Yeah. Well, it looks like, yeah, and we need to see more augmented reality stuff
Yep,
in games and stuff, because once we refine these technologies in the game, that's when they start coming into the
that
commercial
is
side of things.
absolutely correct. Yep. Yep.
So awesome. Well, I'll give the rest of your weekend to you, Mac. We
Yes,
we
sir.
we talked about some of the things coming out, and I hope that these glasses technology gets to a point where it'll be just regular glasses we can just put on there and walk out, and it can tell us like what the UV levels are hitting the glasses, so we know how much UV we're getting exposed to. Things like simple things like that, right?
I love that. This type of stuff, ladies and gentlemen, I love. It'll be very exciting to see if they can pull it off. Like Nadeem said, have just different information. If you ask the glasses, where's the nearest blah blah blah, boom, comes up on the screen. That would be amazing.
Well,
Amazing.
think of it this way. So, just a few years ago, everybody was using, for example, the Garmin devices, right? The
Yeah.
GPS devices. And now pretty much everybody is using something on their smartphone,
Yep.
because you already have the smartphone. Why do you need another separate device?
You
Now,
really don't.
yeah, I mean, and the thing about smartphone is now you can get, yeah, there was traffic alerts available on the GPSs as well, but they were not as up to date or accurate. Now on the smartphone, like if you're using Waze or something like that, that is
Waze.
crowdsourced traffic
Yep.
information on there,
Real time.
which is actually more accurate than what the authorities have. I mean,
That's
it's
true.
like,
No, it's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if there's like a police presence down the line, it will alert you ahead of time. Hey, watch out, slow down. So yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that all these proprietary devices and technology, they're all going to kind of go down to a singular device. And if that device is glasses or whatever, like right now it's a phone, right? And could that become glasses? It can, if the technology can catch up. Like if you can build all that, the display we can build, but it doesn't have to be a big thing. It needs to be small, like regular glasses. And then you can build in cellular, like even the Google glasses that they had. It required an Android device that it talked through. No, you need like the new, like the Apple Watches with built-in cellular. You need connectivity built in. And now with 5G, we're getting there.
You're getting there. 5G is 5G is really. I remember when we were talking about it at the very beginning of the year. 5G has blown so many things open, and like you said, we haven't even reached, where we're gonna go with it. I mean, 5G is something else. It's definitely
Yeah,
something
and
else.
then there's always those naysayers that say it causes cancer or this or that, whatever. But anyway, great to see you, Mac.
Yes,
Have
sir.
a great rest of the weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good one.
A good one. Bye bye.